the Azure functions. So Azure function is also the part of your app services. But when it is coming to the serverless programming, there we use the Azure function. So what is serverless architecture? First, let's understand this one. So a serverless architecture refers to the software design pattern where application are hosted by a third-party service. Okay. So the objective of serverless architecture, it is going to eliminate the need to manage the server software and hardware. So it means the cloud vendor will provide you the software, will provide you the hardware. You don't need to manage anything over there. And the serverless application typically are the event-driven cloud-based system, which are a combination of third-party services, cloud-hosted function, so that you can execute your business over there. And serverless is also known as function as a service style to build the application. So whenever you're going to go ahead with function as a service, there we having the serverless. And if you're looking at this picture, this is the picture how the traditional hosting can be compared with the serverless hosting. So this is my host instance. If you're looking at the traditional style, so there we deploy our application and our single application having the multiple operation. But everything they are the part of the single machine as a single unit that is working actually in the traditional hosting. And here you are responsible for managing the host machine. You are responsible to install the SDK in your local machine so that you can build your application with the help of Visual Studio with the help of your .NET SDK. But in case of serverless hosting, you don't need to manage anything. We having a platform provided by the cloud vendor like Microsoft, AWS, or let's say Google Cloud, and they directly create the function over there, and that particular function is going to perform some operations. What are the operations you are going to do over there? So this is the way how the serverless look like. So now proceeding further, let's understand what is the functional programming. You heard about the object-oriented programming where we create the classes and inside the classes we define the method. But in the functional programming, we don't have the classes. Here, if you know about the C language, so C language is procedure language where we define the function. So here also you have to define the function to do your job. So here function as a unit of the work, like function is responsible to do the things. So obviously function are executed, they start, they finish, and function having the input and function having the output. So when it is coming to the Azure function, so Azure function is based upon the serverless architecture. Even it is the evaluation of the web job, because before the Azure function, we use web job for performing the background processing. If you're willing to do here some background processing, we use web jobs over there. And the function you can develop in any language like C#, Node.js, Java, Python, PHP. So any language you can use here for developing the function. And the function in fact is a combination of code plus event and equal to function. That means whatever the code you are writing here, that code is going to be executed when a event will trigger or when a particular event will happen. So that's why here it is representing a trigger and this is representing the code. So trigger and code together are making Azure function. So in Azure function, we having the multiple triggers which you can use here to execute the code. Even the Azure function, you can expose as HTTP API endpoints. So as we create the API, similar way, the function can be used to create the API and they are easily integrated with the logic app. In the function, you can also use dependency from the NuGet, from the NPM, from the Maven as well if you're using the Java. And they support the automatic and dynamic scaling. So these are function features you will find out if you're dealing with Azure function. And if you're looking at the Azure function architecture, this is the Azure function architecture will look like. So the underlying, they're actually based upon the app services. Do you know we have done the web app? So web app is a app services where you will find out the hosting, continuous integration support, deployments load support, remote debugging support, and various other things. So what it is this? These are the app service features. Same features you will find out in the Azure function as well. And on the top of these app service runtime, we having the web jobs. As I said here, the web jobs always run inside the app service plan, which can be used to perform some background task. Let's say you're willing to send the email at a particular time interval. So those background tasks we can actually perform with the help of web jobs. Even the web jobs having the extension like the trigger when the web job will fire, they having the input and output binding so that they can receive the data. And we having the web jobs script runtime, like it's up to you what are the language you are using for writing the code. So might be using the C sharp, you might be using the any other language. Even you can use the PowerShell script as well. So these things are actually related to the web job, how the web jobs are going to be executed on the top of app services environment. So now what they did in the Azure function, they extend the web job style to make it more simplified and to support a wide range of language runtime. So now they started to support C Sharp, Node.js, Java, PHP, and the App Sharp. And here you need to write the code using any of the language. Then you need the function configuration. So this is the way how the function architecture look like if you're digging into this one. So under the line, they are running on the top of app service dynamic runtime, which is the part of the web app. The another use case for Azure function is, let's say you are going to build a serverless web application. So the example is here, let's say you are just going to sign up on a website, and behind the scene, you need to provide so many permissions, so many roles to the user so that the user will able to access our website smoothly. So in that case, what you can do here, you can have a function. So behind the scene, that function will provide the different role into the database and the different accessibility. And finally, it will create the profile. And when the profile will ready, it will let you know now your profile has been created. Even the same thing, I'm sure you have experience in case of when you have created the Microsoft Azure profile to do the hands-on. So there Microsoft also having the similar style. So they having some background things behind the scene so that they can provide the various permissions so that you can create the various Azure services. So when you're getting started with Azure function, so we'll find out three different plan. App service plan, where you can use the existing app service. So if you're already using the web app, and that web app obviously will use the app service plan. So if you don't want to pay separately, like say you don't want to pay high, so we can go ahead with the app service plan where we will have the predictable monthly cost. The another option is here we have in the consumption plan where you are paying only for the users. So it means you don't have a predictable monthly cost as we having in the app service plan. Here based upon the users they will charge. Even they provide you the free grant. So they having the 1 million request as a free grant, and this is the much amount of GB resources are available as free of cost in the consumption plan. Then they having the premium plan. In the premium plan, they provide the more performance. If you're looking for the better performance, so in that case, you can go ahead with the premium plan, and it build based on the per second basis, where we having a number of virtual CPU usage, the number of GBs, which we are going to use in our Azure function. So there we are using here. So we having the app service plan, we having the consumption plan, we having the premium plan. So one of them you can use. So let's create here the Azure function first, then we talk about the Azure trigger. So I'm just creating here a resource, and as a resource, I'm just going to create the function app. And here I'm just going to have a new resource group, DNT app. Define the function app name, DNTFN app. And it is also having the same style code and Docker container. Docker container support they added recently, it was not before. Similarly, we having the runtime stack here, .NET, Node.js, Python, Java, PowerShell, and any other. Let's go ahead with the .NET. This is the version support they having. So right now they are not supporting the .NET 5. They're supporting only 2.0 and the 3.1. So the 3.1 I just keeping here with this one. Now let's click on the next option that is about the hosting. So here you having the storage account, because for executing the Azure function we need the storage account. Then this is the operating system, you can decide Linux and Windows. So let's say I'm using here Windows one, and this is a plan available. So here you can, the plan available is serverless, premium, and the app service plan. Okay, so one of the plan you can use here. So I'm just using a consumption plan where based upon the users I need to pay. Then we having the monitoring option where we can enable the application inside or we can disable it here. Then we having the various tags. for the grouping purpose. So the deployment is in progress here. It's going to deploy the things without an issue. So here you can find out we having the option for functions. Go to the functions option, and from here directly from the portal you can do the function element. There's no requirement to create the function locally using your Visual Studio, using your VS Code. Directly from the portal I can add the function. So just click on the plus icon and then add function here. So it's your choice whether you're going to develop in the portal, whether you're going to develop using the VS Code or like any other editor which you like. So these options are available here. So I'm just going to start with development in the portal itself. And these templates are available here as we having the templates in our Visual Studio to create the different types of application. Similarly, we having the templates available in portal as well. So there's a template available to create an HTTP trigger. There is a template to create the timer trigger function, as your queue storage trigger, service bus queue storage trigger. So these various trigger are available as a template. One of the template you can select and you can connect with that particular Azure service, and whenever that particular event will happen, like whenever that particular trigger will fire, whatever the code you will write, that code would be executed. So here I'm just going to start with HTTP trigger, and here we can define, we having now template detail. So here you can define the template. You can define your function name. Let's say I'm defining my function name fn. Let's say fn HTTP trigger is my function name. Fn HTTP trigger 1. Then we having the authorization label. So we having the function, anonymous, and admin. So we giving the authorization label as let's say anonymous, so that anyone can access it here. Now click on the add button. So now we can add the code here. There's option to add the code and to test it. So here you will find out a by default function they have created, and the code will look like similar to the ASP.NET Core application code. So you can find out here we having a namespace system.net system Microsoft.ASP.NET Core MVC. Then we having the others namespace. This is the namespace we use in ASP.NET Core as well when it is coming to the MVC core. Then we having a task. So obviously it is going to return a action result as a return type. And these are the input parameter we having, the HTTP request and iLogger. So logger they are using here for logging the information into the console, and using the request, I'm just going to query the data from the query string. So what are the data somebody is sending in the request URL as a query string. So from that query string parameter name, I can retrieve the data over there. But sometimes it happens, you might not sending the data in the query string. You might be sending the data in the request body. So this is a method to read the data from the request body. And what are the request body they are reading? They are just going to deserialize into the dynamic type over there. Because it is a string type, they're just going to deserialize as an object like this way. And what the object we will receive here? That object, from that object, they are looking into the name field. So do we have name field in that object? If the name field is available, then they're returning this response. If the name field is not available either in query string, either in the request body, they will show this message like please pass a name in the query string or in the request body. So this is a code they have written as per the requirement, and they are looking for the name field either in the request body and name in the request URL query string. So from here you can test it. There's option here to test, and from here either you can make the get request. So when you make the get request, you need to pass it as a query string. So this is the option here to pass as a query string. So what would be my query string? Name. I'm adding here, let's say Mohan. This is the body. So body we are not passing here because we are not making the post request. We are making the get request. So from the query string, we are setting the value, and from here you can run it. Now I'm getting here the message, hello Mohan. This HTTP trigger function executed successfully. But it's the same thing you're willing to do here with the post method. Just use post. And here, let me mention the name as Azure in the post method. So now the query string, it will not use. Let's remove the query string. I'm passing only a data in the body. Let's run it here. Now you can see I'm getting the output hello Azure. This HTTP trigger function executed successfully. This is the way how the HTTP post is working. So to decide whether you are making the get request, whether you are making the post request. So this is the post, this is the body, and this is the output, how it is working. So from the portal, this is the way how you can test the function and how you can do it here. And what are the logging we are doing, that log information you can find out in the log window. That is showing you here. C# HTTP function trigger processed a request, and this is the executed over there. So this is the logging information. If you're willing to execute it from the browser, because it is an HTTP trigger function. So HTTP trigger function you can execute by using the URL. So there is option here to get the URL, and let me copy the URL. This is the URL I just copied. So anyone can access because it's having the anonymous access. Enter it here. So I have not passed anything here. So it will ask me to pass a name either as a query string, either in the request body. So let me pass the name as a query string. Now I just pass the name as a query string. It is showing me name hello Mohan. This way. The same URL I can use here to pass the data by using the post request. But for that you need to have the postman. So I'm just opening here postman. Using the postman, I will send the data in the post request. So here, let's make the post request. And here you're setting the body here. So here, I'm just going to use the raw body format and make sure you're using the JSON data. This is my JSON data I'm using over there. So let me mention here the name. So as a name I'm using here, let's say Mohan is the name over there. And now make sure you're making the post request. So this is the post request I'm making here. Now let's click on the send button.